Microplastics. It's a term that you may have been hearing more and more lately. It refers to tiny pieces of plastic smaller than 5 millimeters in size, and they're a pretty major cause for concern right now. You don't have to look farther than local waters near urban settlements to see how they've spread in the environment. A recent study was conducted to attempt to understand the impact of human activity on the release of microplastics into the marine environment and to construct a scaffold for future microplastic monitoring programs. Researchers looked at the amount of microplastics in various fish species to see just how many microplastic particles they were ingesting. 3 fish species that have different habitats and feeding habits were studied. Some that live all the way down on the ocean floor, some that live in the open water close to the surface, and some in between those layers. The reason for this multi-species approach is because microplastics are not all uniform. They come in various shapes and sizes. The denser, heavier ones will sink down to the seafloor, and the ones that are less dense will float in the open sea. What they found was that looking at different species was a vital aspect of the investigation. It was only by putting together the data from all 3 types of fish that they were able to see the entire picture. This is because red mullet, hake, and mackerel all occupy different vertical regions of the ocean water, which is associated with microplastics of varying densities. Therefore, relying on just a single species returns only a single aspect of microplastic ingestion concentration. This is why tracking multiple species is required for a holistic view of microplastic consumption from open waters to the sea floor. The results showed that there were higher ingestion rates in coastal areas with larger populations, meaning that human activity has a significant impact on microplastic contamination. This should come as no surprise, since microplastics are an anthropogenic phenomenon. But what exactly is the significance of these results? The fish that were examined were chosen because of their commercial importance. Red mullet, hake, and mackerel are all heavily consumed by humans, which means that any microplastics they consume will also be taken in by the people who eat them. Microplastics have a variety of effects on humans. They can be toxic and carcinogenic, causing minor issues like inflammation or allergies to much more devastating problems like developmental effects and cancer. These debilitating effects are why monitoring microplastic data is so crucial, so we can be aware of how much is entering the environment and aim to minimize the impact as much as possible. It's incredibly important that more monitoring programs are put in place to further investigate with the goal of pinpointing areas of high microplastic input so that we can implement regulations to control the contamination. But it's not enough to just look at one species. We have to observe and inspect fish with different feeding habits and natural territories in order to truly put together a comprehensive overview which allows us to work towards solving the microplastic conundrum in a multifaceted approach. Perhaps the biggest significance of the study is that human activities are key predictors when it comes to microplastic pollution, which means that we, as a collective, can combat this growing issue with both personal and legislative means by contacting your local government and avoiding single-use plastic and educating others whenever we can.